Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about the Virtual Boy. The Virtual Boy is a very odd device. It was the final creation of Gunpei Yokoi with Nintendo, which would lead him to make the Swan handhelds with Bandai. But that's a different subject. Anywho, the Virtual Boy. This is the main unit. Now, I do want to point out, there are two things I do not own about the Virtual Boy. One's not as biggy, but the other one can be. You see, on the bottom, you have this black square, which is a little easier to see at the angle as opposed to straight on where it looks flatly black. This part here is for the stand, which would hold the system up for you, sitting on, say, like a desk and that, so you could just, go in and hold the control. Because, this is old technology. This ain't like the Wii. It's like, it's reading my mind. The Tetris blocks, left, right, up, down, come on. Yeah, wasn't that advanced back then. But anyway, the Virtual Boy. The front and that is all just really designed because you can't see through it or anything. It's all inside. Now on the top is the adjustments for the depth and that of the lenses, which are hard to see with this on. So we'll take it off. There are two red lenses in right there, and you would see two images. If you know anything about basic 3D, basically, pretty much all concepts of 3D use it. It's a trick in your head. The trick to 3D is to show you two images and have each image only being seen by each eye. That way they both get sent to your head and look like they have a form of depth, when in reality there is none because there are two flat images. So each lens would provide you with a different image for that trick. Technically, even the 3DS still uses that trick, but it uses such a model and expression of that trick that doesn't require glasses at all, which is why the old 3D that used the red and blue lenses, that's still the same concept. It's pretty much always been the same concept. Now the bottoms will pretty much everything add on is you got the controller port. What was originally going to be for connecting Virtual Boys together, no game ever made use of it. Headphone jack, volume, and this is where the game cartridge would go. Right there, and I'll show you a game cartridge much closer, and the label faces up, not down. Now, for me, I have a box that I have a hole for the thing. It just sits in so I can play it like that. That's how I play it without the stand, since the stand was known to be fragile, so they are quite rare to come by, and if you do, they usually cost a lot. So that's the main actual console itself, but what about the controller? Which are a very incredibly short cable, but then again, since the thing is connected to your head, I guess you don't really need a long cable now, do you? So anyway, let's take a look at this little thing. Now, the Virtual Boy's controller is very interesting. It has two plus pads, which was very odd. Very few games made use of them, but to be honest, the ones that did were very interesting. It has basic A/B, select start. It has two trigger buttons on the back, and the on and off switch is on it for a very particularly strange reason. And we're going to get on that. On the back, as you can see, there was a box thing on it. It slides off. This box thing, I do not have the battery box. And yes, this thing was for sale as a portable handheld. The most ridiculous thing ever. So anyway, this box is for the power cord. You would open it up and you could see inside. You just plug in your cable, make sure it's right there, and bam. You can plug in your giant ass brick. And you just simply set that baby on the controller properly. And there you go. plug it in and switch. You had to be very careful because it's funny, you know, the controller itself is sending the power to the console. Now, you had to be very careful with these because if, you know, if it gets loose of that and you like hit a desk or something, popped out, then when your game just went dead, you just lost all progress. Congratulations! Now, pretty much very bizarre device. Now, I only have 2 games. One is American and one is Japanese. It is a region-free console, so you can import. And this is the rarest game if you got the English version. Jack Brothers. This, technically, as far as I remember, is the first Shin Tensei game to come to America. A spin-off puzzle game. What a bizarre forced entry in America, huh? I guess Nintendo is that desperate for stuff for this thing. Jack Brothers is a puzzle game, as I just said, of the Jack Brothers. Frost, the Pumpkin, and the Grim Reaper one. Jack-o'-lantern, Jack the Whipper, and Jack Frost from Shin Tensei. It's a maze game. The 3-dimensional capabilities of it do not make any real use of it. Virtual Boy Royal Land, though, does make better use of it. And I'm going to use its cartridge to kind of show you. It has a little plastic thing that covers the in contacts. It just has a little holes in there that go into the system itself. If you want a comparison, if I can get something to compare here. Let's use a original Game Boy game. Original Game Boy game with the Virtual Boy much bigger, wider, just slightly a little taller. But the boxes, as you can see, was pretty much like a regular Game Boy. The original Game Boy, the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advance box size. So nothing too spectacularly different there. Now, the Virtual Boy's biggest flaw was its color scheme for its 3D. Now, as I stated with the 3DS, the 3D slightly hurts my eyes. I have sensitive eyes and hearing. Very loud bass can bother me and give me migraines, and very powerful 3D depth can hurt my eyes for long term. And 3DS's, the 3DS's XL's large screen hurts my eyes more in its 3D. The original 3DS did not bother my eyes as much. But the problem with the Virtual Boy is it's in red and black, no color. And the reason for that was because of cost efficiency. They could have actually had color, but they wanted to make this product affordable. Which is, of course, what every console designer is trying to do, you know. Consoles are using more and more greater technology, and it's harder and harder to make them more affordable without fucking being like, you know, $600. But, it only displays in red and black, and the black's just the background. The red, so basically the game itself is just red outlining or filling and such. So, top that with the 3D depth aspect of it, and it can hurt your eyes. And of course, they'll wipe by your eyes, which was its biggest criticism when it came out. The Virtual Boy only had a lifespan of 1 year. 1 year. And Nintendo threw it out the window. Now, made by Gunpei Yokoi, as said, creator of the Wonder Swan, which led in his quality. Now, it is very important though, and I find a lot of people who talk about this thing never ever state this. Gunpei Yokoi did not finish the Virtual Boy. I have great respect for the greatness of Gunpei Yokoi. Creator of Metroid, Kid Icarus, and one of the greatest handheld devices, the Game Boy. But this was one of his creations, but he never endorsed the product to be finished. Nintendo, to a similar tactic of somebody else, felt like they didn't want to wait for money income for the product they've been putting their money into. So, yeah, they kind of kicked out the door, went to see if it sell. No, I was a bit too much, and they threw it out the window. And blamed Goombay Yokoi. Goombay Yokoi. If there's anything I hate about Japanese business people those days, sadly some of them still exist, Capcom, is the tendency for somebody's attachment to something, regardless of there being no fault, which sadly happened to the cradle of Final Fantasy XIV, who is the cradle of Final Fantasy XI, or the lead designer. They get blamed, even though it wasn't their decision to release it to the masses at that time. And I always consider that stupid and unfair, and I am very pissed about those kind of decisions. But anyway, Gunpei Yokoi was shamed, sadly, by Nintendo, and, well, he left Nintendo and he went on to create the Wonder Swan Co., and the Wonder Swan Crystal for its Bandai. Screw you, Nintendo, that's what you get. Sadly, Gunpei Yokoi's awesome creativity did die in a very sad way. Gunpei Yokoi died in a car accident, and he wasn't the one that got in the wreck. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a long time since I read that article, but if I remember correctly, there was a car accident, and he had left his car to go help somebody in that car accident, and someone else cremated him into that car accident. Gunpei Yokoi was killed and dead. It was a great shame. Gunpei Yokoi won a great honor as, I can't remember the exact award, but he was given a award for his creation of the Game Boy and his recognition in the video game world. His son and wife were flown into America to accept this award on behalf of their father/husband, because, well, you know, he's dead. I always considered Gunpei Yokoi's death to be a huge shame, because he was such a great, innovative, and thoughtful person who created the whole concept of Nintendo's. Basically, Nintendo always followed a design idea of using lesser technology to make an efficient product for a not expensive price. And Gunpei Yokoi was a very big push in that direction. All his creations were in that direction. The original Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and that. Now, he obviously didn't create the Game Boy Advance, but it did also continue that tradition, so did many other Nintendo consoles. Even the Nintendo Wii followed that same concept of using technology that was more affordable instead of pushing to say, Neo Geo's limits. But anyway, this is becoming more of a history lesson of Gunpei Yokoi and a little less about the Virtual Boy. The Virtual Boy in itself is an interesting novelty item, but it certainly is not a very good playing device itself. It's, well, it hurts my eyes. Out of the two games, I'd say Royal Land, Virtual Boy Royal Land. It has a different name in Japan because of the Royal Land brand. I can't remember the title off the top of my head, but so you gotta remember what to call it. Virtual Boy Royal Land makes better use of it, in my opinion, because you jump in the background and foreground, jump from the front and back, the two rows of the level, and so I think that has a much interesting depth where Jack Brothers basically just you looking at the top like a gauntlet view, and you'll fall through holes and go to a dungeon that you can see overlaying underneath the dungeon you're on, so not as wide. Now, of course, it helps to point out that it was called the Virtual Boy, and don't mind me if I sound a little like the angry video game nerd here that he pointed out, you know, being a virtual it should have been virtual reality and not 3D. It's not the 3D boy. And, well, yeah, that's true. You know, what Angry Video Game Nerd said there was, well, very true. You know, it really is more about the 3D. It's not really interactive, you know. Maybe if they made something like this with the Wii, with motion, maybe that'd be more virtual reality, really, to be honest. But such a device hasn't really came to be quite yet. Overall, the Virtual Boy, if you want for gaming itself, there are unique games on it that you can't get on anything else and aren't available on anything else. They've never made Virtual Boy games onto any other consoles or anything. So, like Jack Brothers, Virtual Boy, Royal Land, and that are all unique to the system itself. Now, most of the games are pretty cheap. The reason, like I said, I have the Japanese version of Jack Brothers is because it was a lot reasonable price. This was $20. Book, advertising, ad, box, all that crap. Why, the American version, just for the fucking game, is a lot of fucking money. Well, getting all that shit. So, you know, and considering it's just a dungeon maze crawl with shooting elements, there's no RPG story or anything, so all you're really missing is the small story plot of the game, but it's really not necessary to play the game. But it's an interesting novelty, but not exactly the greatest gaming device ever known. I would definitely rate it probably as one of the worst game devices. I mean, I always like to say every game system had noteworthy games. There are noteworthy games in the Virtual Boy, but definitely is not. It's probably the bottom of the blow when it comes to game systems. Because it just burns my fucking eyes out. It just burns my eyes out. But you know, actually, now that I think about it, I should try and see what my camcorder can do with recording this. I actually tried that with my web camera. It looks kind of alright. I should try what my camcorder looks like. But anyway, that's it pretty much for that bizarre device. Not too much else really on it. I think I pretty much covered all of it in the genius of Gunpei Yokoi. So, do I have anything for next time? Well, I'm not quite sure. But I will see you next time. Now, what the hell am I book for? Because I gotta study on my spells, man. This DS game's hard. And yeah, this book's for a DS game, so...